And so this kind of becomes the starting point for our creature. So I'm going to grab this thing and kind of inflate this a bit, drag it around. And what you can do in this editor is influencing not just the look of your creature, but also the way it's going to perform in the world. So I'm going to start here, put a couple of legs from the leg palette here on our creature, and then some feet from the feet palette. You'll notice there are different columns here. A lot of these parts also have morph channels. So if you sit here and kind of distort them, each part has a number of different kind of directions it can be bent and manipulated in. Now we can put some eyes on from the sense palette. This is pointing the eyes. Mouths, depending on the mouth we pick, our creature will be a carnivore, herbivore, or omnivore. This will also determine the voice that our creature has in the game, whether it's a bird-like voice or insect-like, etc. Now let's give this guy some arms. Now this is designed so that almost anybody can come up and make something really interesting in about 2 or 3 minutes. We want players to feel like basically they can create something that a Pixar artist would create over weeks. Now this is my just basic creature that I've thrown together. Now we go into the texturing stuff. The program will actually analyze the topology of this creature, and I'm going to make this guy kind of dark green and try some different textures. Each one of these is a different procedural texture that we're applying to the creature. And it actually kind of knows where to shadow it, where the legs are, where the back is. We can also combine overlays on top of this. So this is an overlay layer that I'm going to make kind of yellow, and we can try different types of stripes on our creature. And when we're ready, we can basically go into test mode now and see how our creature would move around. Now at this point, the computer's actually analyzed what I built in the game, and it's procedurally animating this thing. We can actually kind of see it, some of its behaviors that we might see later in the game as we're playing it. This is how it might fight. How it might play, how it might react. In fact, inside the theater here, you see all these creatures on the walls. These were actually printed on a 3D printer, and it gives you some sense of the diversity of creatures that we can build in the game. Now we're going to pop out here and go into the actual creature game that you're playing. Now this is a full world of creatures. It's actually populated with other things that other players have made automatically. There's an entire ecosystem in the world here that we're playing in. And the computer is actually controlling these other creatures now. They were coming from our central server in a very compressed format. And these are the things that we're going to end up competing with at this part of the game. This is my creature right now, and I'm actually kind of directly controlling this guy in the world. And he has to kind of survive and eat. I'm going to run away from that guy. Okay, I won't be near there. So basically, at this point in the game, I need to eat and get enough points where I can reproduce. So these guys are small. Probably take them on. Just like too many of these guys right now, so I'm going to give up on this. You don't have to necessarily be strong. You can actually have a pretty big advantage in the game just by being social. Here's some food. Go that way. It's a harsh world right now. Run away from these guys. Ah, here's some herbivores. Just sneak up and get yes. Right there. Food. Yes. This is their nest, actually. Okay, time to run away. I did get some DNA points now, which will allow me to mate. So I'm going to go over to my species. These are my guys. Now there's a whole social game where I can call these guys. This one's ready to mate. I can tell by the little hearts there. And this is what will get me back in the editor, where I can have an opportunity to design my creature. Procedural mating. So you know, and we're actually playing through every generation of evolution of these creatures. But now we have to protect the eggs until they hatch. So the scavengers coming after me here. Now at this point I can actually click on the eggs and go back into the editor. So this is the creature I was just now playing, so I'm going to improve it a little bit. First of all, I want it to be faster, so I'm going to buy a better foot. Each one of these parts has an upgrade level. these little sliders over here are showing me kind of the performance of my creature. So how I design a creature and what parts I use will determine the performance of my creature in the world. I'm going to give it a couple of arms as well, and give it some claws so that it can maybe fight a little bit better. I'm going to go to the hand palette, put some claws on there. Shrink that down a bit. I want my creature to look a little scarier too. This creature looks just kind of goofy, so I'm going to give it a little bit meaner looking eyes here. Just forward. Yeah. Okay. Now let's give it a little bit more interesting texture here. It's kind of got this clown suit on right now. I'm going to go for something that's a little darker, I think. Go for something in a dark blue with scales, I think. Now I'm going to change the overlay to something red, some stripes on the back there. So you can spend as much time in the editor or as little time as you like in these generations. Okay, this is my new creature, so I'm going to come back into the world with this creature. Now coming back into the world, I'm actually not a grown-up. I actually start as a baby. So this is the baby version of the creature I just designed. These are my siblings and my parents. Now I can make friends by clicking on these guys, and they'll actually become part of my herd. And we can now work together as a group. So I get the little friendship sign. This is kind of like a friendship game in the stone. And now my little friends will follow me around the world. And we can kind of work together as a team. We can go annoy the neighbors. If I do this long enough, the babies are going to get eaten, so I'm going to skip over this part of the game. Now, we're going to skip over several levels of the game here. We're skipping over the tribal game when our creatures become intelligent and they start building tribal tools, huts, and have relationships with other tribes. There's an associated hut editor where you get to design the hut of the creatures. Also, at some point, you can even design the flora of the game, change, make a very kind of imaginative world using that. Later, we go to the city game, where it's kind of a simple version of SimCity. We're designing their buildings, designing the city layout, kind of the specialization of the city. There's a building editor as well as a city editor. Eventually, we get to the city game where we're designing vehicles that we'll actually use to kind of crawl around the surface of the planet and interact with other civilizations. We're actually going to skip ahead to that phase right now. We're upset by that. We saw that as an aggressive act, so I have planetary defenses here. This also isn't necessarily, I'm going to pull away from here because I think we've upset them. So this turned out to just really be one of their colonies, and probably attacking them was a mistake here. So I apologize here. But now we're getting another message on our comm screen. This is our homeworld, actually. So attacking those guys, in fact, have repercussions. They might even have allies that will come and attack me later on. So you have to be very careful about managing the relationships up at the space level of the game. Now, this is several thousand stars of interstellar space here. But even this is just a very small fraction of the entire galaxy that we're playing in. And again, there could be millions of worlds you can play. A lot of different goal structures you can pursue. And again, we're just showing 2 of the 6 levels of this game to give you some sense of the breadth. But really, the focus of the game is on the player creating everything in the world and basically being able to share that transparently with all the other players. And so that's our demo. Thanks.